Welcome to the final Inside Indiana overtime of the men's basketball season. Indiana's run ends here in the Sweet 16 in Philadelphia at Wells Fargo Center. That's Jordan Gusky. I'm Alex McCarthy. We both made the trip to the city of brotherly love to see North Carolina look like the number one seed in the East region. I mean, they looked from start to finish, they were the better team. This was the only game this season where Indiana did not ever have a lead, and it was a 15-point loss. Could have been by more, honestly. But real quick, first of all, before we kind of look at the season in general, what are a couple of your takeaways from this game?
I just think, if the turnover bug just still got Indiana again. 12 turnovers, UNC scores 21 points, and that was a big thing to letting UNC get started off so hot, because I think Page had a few of his threes in the first few minutes came off of turnovers by Indiana, and when you let a team shoot, I think above 50% from three and about 55% from three and about 51% from the field over the course of the game, it's going to be hard to beat them. Yeah. And I think, without Robert Johnson out there, that definitely, at least tonight, more than any night, showed defensively that IU just wasn't able to stay up on the perimeter with North Carolina. And then as the game went on and Indiana started trying to stop the three more, that's when Bryce Johnson and really the forwards of North Carolina were able to just do their damage. And the post-game press conference, Crean said that was the post, like the play in the post, that really killed Indiana, and that's probably true.
Yeah, he was saying at halftime that he wanted the team to stop UNC from working the ball through the paint as well as it did, and Indiana just wasn't able to defensively. You mentioned Rob Johnson, who missed tonight's game with his ankle injury that he re-aggravated against Kentucky. Huge loss for IU, as we saw. I mean, because UNC is not a good shooting team. I mean, we said it 1,000 times during the game, but UNC just does not rely on the three. They shot, 31%, right?
Mm-hmm.
You said, from beyond the arc, and almost doubled that tonight. So, kind of an odd game, an odd performance from UNC to sink Indiana and end their season this year. Mike Miller of the Bloomington Herald-Times making an appearance. Things get a little wonky here at 1:30 in the morning as we're trying to wrap up the season. Hey, this is my video.
My head's yours now.
Get out of here.
Sorry.
But the season's over. Indiana's done 31 wins this season, something like that. When you look back at the season, what's the big takeaway for you? Looking just because it's been just such a strange season.
I think
Get out of here.
No, all right. So I think it's just the play of the freshmen being as critical as it was as the season progressed. Coming in, Thomas Bryant's supposed to be a huge impact player. OG Anunoby and John Morgan are supposed to be great role players, and they all kind of surpassed in a way what they were expected to do. Thomas Bryant, especially against these really high-profile opponents in these big-time games, he showed up. He played well again tonight. Overshadowed a bit by Bryce Johnson, but over the course of the season, these guys really came around in Indiana, and whether or not they move on or stay for another year, they've really cemented their place, at least for this season.
Yeah. The freshman impacts this season have been enormous. I mean, even with Morgan and Anunoby, who weren't, like you said, weren't really expected to be stars to really do that much, quite frankly. They were huge in turning around Indiana's season defensively, and Anunoby more than Morgan provided a little bit on offense as well. But this was just overall an impressive season. And I was talking with Jared Jeffries after IU won the Big Ten outright, and he said, this team did one of the most difficult things that any team can do, and that's meet expectations. And Indiana, preseason top 15 team, and then at the end of the season finishes as one of the final 16 teams left. So I mean, that's kind of what was expected to an extent from Indiana. They did it in a kind of strange way. I mean, they came out of the gates 5-3 and just not looking like they were interested in playing defense whatsoever, and just not looking like they were playing together at all. All of a sudden, things turn around. Whether it was after Duke, whether it was at halftime against Notre Dame, whether it was at the beginning of Big Ten play, I don't know. At some point, something clicked. This team went on a run. Yes, it was an easy Big Ten schedule, but Indiana won the games it was supposed to win. Again, meeting expectations, doing what you're expected to do. they ended. I honestly think they ended the season playing as well as they've played really all year. I mean, the Michigan game, the turnover thing killed them against Michigan. It hurt them again tonight. But the thing is, I mean, Indiana just ran into a buzzsaw.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this even during the game. It was kind of evidence of the Chattanooga game, except now Indiana was in the role of Chattanooga and North Carolina was Indiana, where Indiana shot over 60% against Chattanooga, and Chattanooga didn't even play that bad. And really, Indiana didn't even play that bad tonight. They actually played pretty well, all things considered. But when you go up against a team that just doesn't miss, especially doesn't miss from three like North Carolina did, has an All-American going up against IU's freshman, it's a lot of stuff to consider, and IU can really walk away holding their heads high.
Yeah, they can, and it's a season that in one way went as expected and another totally didn't go as expected. There's a little bit of uncertainty going into this offseason, especially with the whole setup where guys can test the NBA waters and then come back. I would expect Thomas Bryant certainly to do that. I mean, Troy Williams is definitely going to do that. Maybe even OG Anunoby. I don't know. I mean, his stock has risen. If you've seen some of the mock drafts for the 2017 draft, there's really no reason not to go and see what's out there. But they didn't. None of them really said anything in the locker room after the game about that because they never do.
Right.
The night that their season ends. But I'm sure in the coming weeks we'll hear from Troy Williams certainly, and from Bryant, and we'll see what happens there. But should be an interesting offseason, but there's a lot coming back next year. Even if Williams leaves, even if Bryant leaves, there's still a reason for optimism for this pretty young Indiana team. But that's all we've got. We've gone a little bit longer than usual just because, it's the end of the season. So, Jordan, it's been a pleasure covering these games with you.
It's been a lot of fun.
It has. So we're going to call it a night from Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. We're going to head back to Indiana this weekend, and I don't know, it's spring football season.
Yeah, recap basketball season. Get started for spring football.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So thanks for keeping up with our coverage off season. It's been an interesting one. It's been a fun one to cover, and we'll still be around. We'll still be writing stuff. So for Jordan Gusky, I'm Alex McCarthy. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and thanks for watching.